So we're gonna talk about My Journey of the Dragon Horse. It's a short story by Xia Jia. She's a writer and a professor in China. Her real name actually is Wang Yao. She mainly writes short stories. I think she only has like one novel. In particular, this story was published in 2015 and then was translated to English by Ken Louis, who is also a writer. We read one of his stories. And not only that, but it appeared this story in one of Ken Louis' compilation of different Chinese science fiction authors. This compilation name is Invisible Planets. If you're curious, there are several like Chinese authors, and the compilation is made by Ken Louis. So about the content of the story, is inspired directly by an actual like mechanical dragon horse. It's in the Adrian's background, but I have another...
you can see here, but probably if you saw the screen, yeah.
So you can see the video, right?
Yes, we can see it.
So yeah, this mechanical dragon horse was actually like in the story. It says it's the work of a French designer. It was created in 2014, and it was to celebrate the diplomatic relationship between China and France. This dragon is based in Longma, which is like a creature in Chinese mythology. And the legend is told in the story, and it also has the spider. The spider is really creepy.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
I really
there are people in the spider.
Yeah, and in the dragon, I think.
I think they are the drivers.
I didn't see them in the drug.
Oh,
now I see.
Yeah.
Maybe each of them moves one leg or something, and another one for the head. Something like that.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's what I thought, but they would fall then if each one is doing it without seeing what the other one is doing.
Right, or they are very well coordinated.
Yes.
Which may be.
So this is like the real inspiration behind the story. I don't know if you want, we could like start with the first round of impressions as always. So Eugenia, what do you think? Do you like it?
I love this story. It was so beautiful and so original, and also it had a post-apocalyptic vibe that I'm kind of hungry for it these days. So it was a very nice surprise, because I thought I would like it, knowing I like Ken Liu as an author, and I like the stories he chooses to translate. I'm a fan, but I wasn't sure if the story was going to be okay, or if it was going to be really, really great. And it was. I really liked the journey of the dragon, how he explores a world so different from ours and so similar at the same time, because it's and speculative version of ours, really, that may very well happen someday. We don't know about it, but I really liked the relationship and the conversations between the dragon and the bat. To me, they were such meaningful characters, even though they are not real people. I can't put a face to them. I can't relate to them at first glance, but then they really It really discussed the nature of the world in such an engaging way for me. It made me really immersed in the story. I couldn't stop reading. I wanted to know more, even though nothing happened really, but so much happened. It's kind of a contradiction. So I really enjoyed it, and I would love to give it a 9 or a 10 if if we made an Eurovision rating, because I really liked it, and I hadn't read anything from her before, from Xia Jia before, and I'm itching to know if there are more things from her translated to English, because I'd love to read them.
Yeah, there are actually in this compilation, Invisible Planet, there are 3 stories by Xia Jia. So yeah. Adrian, what do you think?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It was beautiful, very poetic. It has visually, like the imaginary, the pictures that it builds in your brain is quite beautiful. And I like how they how the dragon tells all these stories that are like incredible new ideas. Like each of those tales, each of those stories could have been a short story or even a novel by itself. And I like that, throwing ideas out there. I think science fiction sometimes does this, and like getting a lot of good ideas out there, even if they are not developed or they don't elaborate on them. And it's something that I enjoy a lot because it drives your mind from one point to the other very fast, imagining many different things from one paragraph to the other. I found the elephant too, that the French company did. You can see it, right?
Oh,
This is the elephant. There's even people there.
the sunny houses.
Yeah. So in general, a very good story. It's a soft science fiction, meaning that there's no science really there. It's nothing hard like we are used to with the author of the Three-Body Problem that I can't remember now.
Cixin Liu.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he's very hard science, talking a lot about physics and stuff like that. Xia Jia, or however it is pronounced, is much good in creating a fantasy world, which is at the same time science fiction. So very good story.
Okay, Angela, what do you think?
I really like the story. I like this combination between fantasy, tales, and science fiction. And I really enjoy with the main character, the dragon, about the personality, like how he has this dilemma between being a machine and a spirit, and he's Chinese, but at the same time he's French, and like he doesn't know where he belongs, and all of this dilemma. I find it really human, so I enjoy it, and also I enjoyed the part he was like reflecting about death, because when we think about death, we think in humans or animals, but not in machines. So I found it really interesting. And I also found it interesting that there were no humans in the story. I mean, with just the dragon and the bat, I think that it was perfect to describe everything. So I really enjoyed the story.
Okay, Antonio?
I like it, especially the beginning of the story, and I think I was quite interested in this sort of rebirth of the dragon. And also, I have some questions about how is the story is going through, okay, or how is the story progressing, because I don't know what is exactly the motivation of the dragon. Why is the dragon behaving like that? What is the dragon looking for? Okay, what are the intentions of the dragon? No, it's something interesting, okay, because it can lead you to rethink some points that are quite interesting. I like it.
Luisa?
I like the story. I like the language that she used because it's very poetic, as somebody said. And I like the atmosphere she creates, this post-apocalyptic like kind of wall, and the short stories as well. I don't know. For me, it was like a folk tale. It seems like a folk tale, like a fairy tale kind of thing. Yeah, I like it.
Carlos?
Well, I cannot say I like it. I'm kind of the one disagree. I mean, even though I like some parts as far as like the description of the where it happens and sometimes when the poetic part, in general, I felt like it was foreign in the sense of not relating to. When I was reading it, I was like, wow, Chinese are much different than us. I mean, and I have had like Chinese friends when I was in the US, and but it was like I saw I couldn't quite get it. So in fact, I was quite interested in participating to get the other people's point of view because I felt like I don't know, maybe I should have read it more than once, but I felt like it not related really to the story.
Okay, Mo, hello.
Hello, sorry for being late. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love it either. I don't think it's bad. It's just not really my type of thing. Like this sort of, I don't know if I have a hard time like visualizing things, but this kind of not overly, but this kind of descriptive story, poetic story just never really does it for me. I know a lot of other people really like it, but like I just don't. I just find it a bit dull. Like I think there were some interesting points that it sort of touched upon, like Angela was saying, like living in two different worlds and this concept of discovering death, but like nothing was really developed. Like the parts that I found interesting were not developed. So I don't think like I'll be thinking about it in years to come or anything like that.
Okay, and Isa?
Yeah. This history is amazing. It's a combination of science, of fictions and myth. Technology will change culture. My English is very bad. Sorry.
It's okay, don't worry.
Nothing.
Okay, so I really love this story. I really like the mix between fairy tale story, like science fiction, and I really like as well the idea that this happened in like a post-apocalyptic world. I think, I don't know, it has like a lot of elements that I really like. So for me, this is an amazing story. And I really wanted to read like something different as well. So yeah, in general, I really like it, even though it's true that not a lot of things are happening in the story. It's like sometimes you could say it's a very slow like narration, but still I think it's amazing. So I don't know, let's talk first about the dragon. Like what Antonio say, like why do you think the dragon is like, where is it going? Is he want to die? Is he dying and he knows what happened at the end? I don't know, like what do you think?
He doesn't know neither. Like he wakes up in this apocalyptic world where the humans are no more. And somehow he has a conscience, but he doesn't know what to do with it. He has agency, but has no purpose. And he just wanders until he finds the bat. And probably it's his, I don't know, purpose. Their purpose is to find the rest, the skeletons of his co-workers, his old friends from the time before the humans, and rest with them.
But he's in China, as far as I know. And his friends are in France.
But I think at the beginning, sorry.
Yeah.
The whole story is in China, and after when it happened, the lake thing, when it starts to fly, it goes to France.
Yeah, I think so. Like the lake is the sea or the ocean, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're trying to find a logical explanation that is more appropriate for science fiction. I think this is more, the plot is more fantasy-like. Yeah, so he flies over a river and then he lands in Nantes in France, which is not even the ocean because he needs to go over America, and but it's okay because it's just a fantasy. I think we shouldn't try to get the logical explanation of that.
Obviously, but I think it's important because for me, well, I know that it's in China because at one point the dragons say like this metropolis, like the sky is by day was really gray and by night was like neon colors. Yeah. But I think it's important because I think my interpretation was like the dragon is dying from the beginning because it keeps like losing parts. And I think he somehow knows in some part, but I don't know. I think at the end he dies, basically.
I think that the dragon is a mix between the machine and the spirit because it is described like this. So it is a losing part, as you say, and when it comes to the sea, in the end, all the machine part is dead, and he I think that how is flies alas or
wings.
So wings. Sorry. So he totally becomes in the spirit part. It was my interpretation.
Yeah, to me, the last thing the thing keeping him alive, and the last thing that he does before he dies is returning to where he was made, to Nantes in France, and when he sees his old friends there, especially the spider whom he shared that last memory with, he just the last thing he does is bring them to life so that they can experience the same thing he did, like they can discover the world, and then he dies because the last thing he wanted to do is now done, so he has nothing left to do or to see. So that, to me, that's why he dies. That's why his end comes.
What do you
It
guys
makes
think?
sense.
But does he wake them up?
But I think it doesn't matter
yeah.
because he's already dead. Like he's the spirit of the dragon. So maybe his friends are also dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I understood from the story that he wakes them up. That's why I understood.
Yes.
But
It's
in the
something
spirit
like that.
realm.
Yes, he said that.
Like it says literally, his friends have awaked them, and to welcome his return, there will certainly be a great feast. And then he goes to sleep, which I guess is death. I don't know.
Maybe he was like this spirit, and when he reached friends, he like awake them, and because of this he dies because the spirit go to the other mechanical friend. I don't know.
It's gonna be something metaphorical. I don't know what, but like I mean, in this story, like literally, he turns into a butterfly and like flies to heaven. Like he's flying across the river between heaven and earth, and then he finds his old companions. So I mean, I don't know. Like, is it and they talk a lot about, oh, you're gonna go live and be eternal, like poetry. So maybe it's supposed to be kind of this metaphor for human spirit or creativity or art or something that lives on beyond its original creator. Or I don't know enough about the author to really, like, if she has common themes that she plays with or something, but to me it seemed very like, yeah, metaphorical, like the dragon was representing the Chinese people, or human creativity, or something like that.
I only have read another story by her. It's a also very famous story. Is 100 Ghosts Parade Tonight, which is similar in some ways because it's about like a town with like ghosts, but the ghosts are like in robot bodies. So it's kind of like similar. So I think it's the mixture between like what she said, traditional stories and technology. So I think it could be like kind of the same idea.
Yeah, it makes sense. All of the like short story or whatever, not short stories, all the stories that the dragon was telling to the bat were all mixtures of like technology with like spirits, or yeah, these kind of folktale ideas of ghosts and things like that. So that would make sense.
Yeah, she calls her own science fiction purits science fiction, in opposition to the hard science fiction. I guess purits, I have never eaten purits, so I don't really know what it is. It's like
You're missing out.
What?
It's
Porridge.
like avena, no?
Yeah, it's like oatmeal.
Yeah.
It's like cooked
Oatmeal, yeah.
So she calls her own style purits science fiction because it's very, very soft instead of hard. So yeah, it mixes with this fantastic world where
there's no science, no physics. She just does whatever she wants, and that's fine by me because it's very cool what she ends up coming up with. Also, you can really see that she likes robotics from what Andrea said.
She basically write this story because she saw the video of this mechanical dragon horse. So yeah, I guess so. But so the spirit of the dragon, do you think it represents humans in some way?
I don't know, just because she kept talking about poetry and you're gonna live on like poetry, so that's kind of why I made the connection between the two. Like, oh, maybe it represents poetry or creativity, but I wouldn't have thought that otherwise.
Yeah, I didn't see it associated to people. It was something else. I mean, maybe spirits, maybe art, maybe something else. But I mean, I cannot say I understood it, but I didn't associate it to people or any particular person or group of persons. In fact, I think for me it was more like a fairy tale more than science fiction, really.
Can be both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd even, I mean, if it wasn't in Lightspeed magazine, I would never have thought to call it science fiction. I mean, it doesn't matter, you can call it whatever you want to, but
exactly.
For me it's much more, fantasy or fairy tale.
Yeah, actually the only science fiction part is the mechanical dragon, which is something similar to a robot, could say. Other than that, there's no science fiction there. I didn't see any metaphor for the story other than what you were saying before, Mo, about maybe being an analogy or representing dying and going to heaven somehow. But I understood it in a more physical layer of existence where he just travels to where his companions live, and that's it, or used to live. Like the sad part of the story is that he has lost everything that he knew, not only the humans and the world itself as he knew it, but also his companions. And this pilgrimage, this walking or traveling until finding his past, is probably the core of the story, and it could be going to heaven after death, or just that he finds someone that tells him, okay, you are going to die because your world is dying, and it's like a guide. The bat is like a guide that makes smoother the transition into that place or into that location where he lies, surrounded by his companions.
For me, it was kind of hard to understand because he had been dead for thousands of years. So then he wakes up, walks around for a small amount of time, and then kind of goes to meet his old partners or to heaven or whatever. For me, it was, and then kind of dies or maybe goes into deep sleep. It was hard to find a meaning to what happened. Maybe it's the idea maybe was more on the form, on the metaphors and the poets than on the real story. Well, for me, it was difficult to find a logical connection to everything that happens.
I'm thinking now on another apocalyptic novel that it's awesome, which is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And the atmosphere is also very tranquil somehow.
The road or on the road?
No, the road.
No, the road. Yeah, they're obsessed with the
I to make that joke.
From now on, we have to compare everything to
With
On the Road.
road.
It's required.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
It's become kind of a given recent.
Yeah.
So The Road is an apocalyptic world where everything, the civilization has disappeared, and it's a father and his son walking, and they are just walking, and nothing really happens. It's just the atmosphere, how the world is, the relationship between the father and the son, but they barely talk in the novel. But it's so good as a novel, and I find some of those elements here in this story. You have the atmosphere, the apocalyptic world, and it doesn't really matter where is the dragon going, or where is he coming from, or why he's waking up when all his mates are already dead. Maybe, I'm thinking now, maybe they all die at the same time, and this is just the transition of the dragon into. But maybe it's happening at the same time than the other friends, like the way they go to this other place where they meet.
Yeah, I think it's a representation of the journey to the death, if you want to say so, because like I don't know, I was reading about symbolism and everything, and the bat actually represents good fortune in Chinese, because the character for bat is pronounced similar to fortune. But actually, in this story, I was thinking more of I don't know, the Green Reaper. This is like a more common like figure, right? Not only in Asia. And I think the band represents kind of a Green Reaper, so it's guiding the dragon to the death.
Yeah, it definitely it was similar to other stories where you find this companion who leads you to the afterlife or whatever, and like even crossing the water, which is very like common in a lot of death myths in different cultures, like you cross the river, you cross the water to get to like the next life.
Yeah, it seems to be a very common imagery for death, because you have the Leith River in Greek mythology. I think that's the one we're most acquaintance with, but there's also it really reminded me, I know it has nothing to do with it, but it reminded me of Egyptian myths, because you always have to carry things from the human world with you in order to go on to the next life, and that reminded me of this in this story. And I also found it very meaningful that even though we talked about this, even if the dragon is not a metaphor for humanity or for anything else, I felt the dragon was very human. I empathized a lot with it, even though it's the mechanical dragon, because its feelings of wanting to know what's happened and wanting to find its place in the world, even if he doesn't really have the means he no longer has a means to do it, because there's almost nothing there, and nothing, and he has seen the previous world, so he finds it hard to let go of these memories that he has of the spider and this very huge event and everything. I think those are very common human emotions: feeling displaced, feeling lost, feeling being a wanderer. Like you can't stay in any place for long, and I don't know. I really thought it was well done, because I really empathize with those feelings, and the way this story is written, and how the dragon's internal speech is written. I really thought his feelings were genuine and real, even though they're not dramatized. They're just simply, the dragon simply is. I don't know if I'm able to explain it very eloquently, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's very human. Feels very human, or at least with emotions that we could find in humans too. Which maybe he's half human like his creators, maybe he's half something, because I think all these stories about half somethings mixing together. There's even a paragraph in the story where they say they are just like him, mixed blood creations of tradition and modernity, myth and technology, dream and reality. They are made of art, yet they are natural. Everything seems to be a mix in the story. The dragon itself is created during somehow a mix of two countries. He spends the time between reality and dreaming. It's like a dream, like a fairy tale, between technology and fairy tale, between human emotions, but he's a dragon or a machine even. So everything is interlinked. It's mixed.
Yeah. In the text also explained that the bat was a mix. I don't remember what exactly, but was a mix between something and something.
Part beast, part bird.
Yeah, something like this.
But that's how we think of bats, right? Like, because they're weird. I don't know. Yeah, but I think that's actually one of the main points of the story, even more than the dying part. Because the actual like mechanical dragon is like a mix to celebrate the two countries. So she obviously like the mix between traditional and modern technology. So I think that's the point of the whole story. So yeah, maybe the dragon is part human, part robot.
I understood that is part robot, part spirit, but I understand spirit also as human. So
yeah, I think so.
And it's like, I think the same that Eugenia was saying about he was superhuman, like the feelings and how he thinks and all of this. I mean, I was thinking that he was a spirit, but I understand this as humanity.
And I'm thinking now that the dragon itself is a mix, because he's also a horse. Like he's half horse, half dragon, so it's not the
We're
basic
forgetting
mix.
about that, and it's quite important.
I was thinking in that when I was reading the story, and I reached to the conclusion that the dragon part is from China and the horse is from West, from France or whatever. I thought that it was the explanation, but after I saw the real video, so I was thinking maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, that could make sense. The Chinese part being the dragon and somehow the horse being France for some reason. But the dragon horse is something in the Chinese tradition. It's an animal called long mao.
Long mao.
Yeah, that symbolizes that a reign, like a ruler, an emperor, is going to last for a long time or something like that. I read. So yeah, it's something that exists on Chinese tradition.
Yeah, and also both horse and dragon like are animals in the Chinese horoscope, like
zodiac
calendar.
Yeah,
Chinese
yeah,
zodiac.
but it's more like in depth that no horoscope. Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
you have the year of the dragon, the year of the horse.
Yeah, the year, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
For non-believers in horoscope.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
so they both animals mean
Oh.
something in Chinese mythology. Yeah.
And I'm reading now that, where is it? A dragon horse is the vital spirit of heaven and earth, like a combination of heaven and earth, which makes sense with the story. As a being, its shape consists of horse body, yet it has dragon scales. Yeah.
I'm sad because I was imagining a centaur with the head of a dragon, and it was the other way around. So I'm really sad. That would have been cool, like half dragon, half serpent kind of thing.
The serpent is also an
I don't know.
animal in the Chinese.
Cool, but instead it's just a dragon with
maybe there is another creature
with
like
four legs.
that. I don't know.
I'm reading, it says, heaven creates divine things. The Holy Sage takes them as models. Heaven and earth change and transform. The Holy Sage imitates them. And this is related to the horse, to the dragon horse somehow.
Yeah, in the story they say like the dragon horse was sent to Earth by a goddess. This goddess was the creator of humanity as well. So I don't know. There are a lot of relations.
I must say that I found there's that a lot of Chinese proverbs, traditional proverbs, like the ones in fortune cookies, involve dragons, and one of the most important ones to grasp the idea that the Chinese have of dragons is hoping one's son will become a dragon. I think that's cool. That your parents wish for you to become a dragon. That sounds awesome. But from that I kind of like deduced that they really use dragon as like an euphemism of being the best or being or excelling.
I think it represents power, I think. Yeah.
Like
that's
really,
why it's like the more like famous animal. It's the best one.
Yeah, it's like being a lion here, right? Like the king of the jungle. It's like that there. I don't know, just trying to find a connection.
We will need to look more into this, because for what I'm seeing, it's very connected to somehow a river or a mass of water, and the idea is that dragon horse was born from a river, from water. Which, if we go to the story, the moment he somehow is born again into this other form is in the water. Like he goes into the water and he feels that he's like, I don't know, feeling something different there. So maybe there's some relation.
Yeah, it says here that people in ancient China painted dragons, common people, like in ancient during the times of ancient dynasties, they painted dragons as with a horse head and a snake's tail. So
true.
To like get all the benefits from the animal, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like
So it really is. It really seems to be like this dragon horse. It was the first prototype of dragons back then. Like people could really use horses as models to paint a dragon's body, so they were really connected from a long time ago, and I would never have thought that dragons and horses would go hand in hand, but apparently to Chinese people they do. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because Western dragons are a bit different from Eastern dragons, right? I don't know. I imagine the dragons from Game of Thrones quite different from a dragon horse. I don't know about you, but I sure do.
And here is also the butterfly part. I mean, like we have horse plus dragon, but it's a butterfly, no? Because in the beginning it doesn't have wings.
Yeah.
So it's like
it transforms into a butterfly.
Yeah, it's difficult enough to create a mechanical dragon, but a mechanical dragon that flies, I think that's impossible. I'm sorry, just from aerodynamics, I don't know how that would work. So yeah, that adds to your theory, Angela, that it has an spirit form, and that's like the spirit form that becomes a butterfly. Because I can't see a dragon.
The butterfly is not the zodiac in the zodiac.
When I was reading the story, when I was reading, like I had to read like times this part because I was imagining like the horse, I mean the head, the horse head, the dragon body, and the butterfly wings, and I was thinking, what is this? This is
that looks strange.
Yeah. And after I realized that.
Yeah, the butterfly is the spirit, because they say that the butterfly flies away, and in one moment the butterfly see the body of the dragon.
Yeah,
it's a very sad scene. like why did the dragon drown itself or burn itself? I don't know.
Okay, I have another relation, because this is exactly like a metamorphosis, no? When the butterfly fly, how is this thing in English? I don't know.
It's so much more beautiful to transform from a dragon to a butterfly than a human to a cockroach. So
no, but no, I didn't mean the metamorphosis, the book. I mean the real metamorphosis.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something similar to that. Instead of a worm, it's a dragon.
But I think, I don't know, the dragon is more powerful and more cooler, I want to say, than the
But
butterfly.
this dragon was like dying. I mean, all the mechanical parts were falling, so I don't know if it was powerful.
But it's funny because it's a huge dragon and its spirit is maybe a tiny butterfly flying away.
To me, it's kind of because I don't know. Dragons are supposed to be, like we associate certain personality traits with certain animals. You don't imagine a butterfly to be vicious, but a dragon is like dominant and powerful, as you said, Andrea, powerful and strong. And to me, the dragon's personality fits more like it's more fitting of a butterfly. So I think that's where, to me, that's the feeling I got, that when his spirit leaves his body, his true form is that of a butterfly.
Yeah.
Because of how he travels through the story and sees everything, just like if he had wings and he flew all around the world, and how he pays attention to detail and tries to be aware of small things, because trying to find some meaning, I saw that as more fitting of a butterfly than a dragon. But that's just me. I think that it's interesting how we kind of, from a first visual impression of animals or different things, people too, we kind of associate certain things. Like I said, you don't imagine a butterfly to be evil, because it's an animal we associate with good things, with positive emotions and feelings. But you don't imagine a snake to be good. You imagine a snake to be deceitful and treacherous. I don't know, I find it very interesting. And in the story, that's the feeling I got.
With dragons, I don't know, because what is the personality of this kind of dragons? No, the Game of Thrones dragons. I mean, the Chinese dragons.
The dragon horse.
Yeah, no, but this kind of dragons, I don't imagine them like as evil as West dragons.
I
don't know.
Me neither.
Sorry.
I was think of dragons as like, good things in Asian mythology, like they're good luck, or like we were saying, powerful, and like you want to have a dragon on your side or whatever.
Yeah, in Asian media too, they're often represented as very old beings, very like sometimes they're very ancient or they're immortal. So they're very wise and they always like offer advice and help. And to me, the dragon in the story knew nothing, so I can't see him giving any advice. He's just like a wanderer to me. He just wants to see things firsthand and just, I don't know, I got kind of a different feeling from him.
Yes, it's interesting because it's supposed to represent like a great mythological creature, but in actuality, I think it's more like, no, he said he's created by humans, so it's more like humans. But also, I really like the difference between like what you're saying, like the things we connect with animals, because for instance, we in the Western we connect a bat with vampires, and in China they say it's good fortune, so it's very different.
I have to say that in some places in Europe, the bat brings good luck also.
In Eastern Europe, I think, right?
In Valencia, in particular.
Valencia.
Really? They have the bat in a football.
Oh yeah, because of the King Jaime I, right?
Well, no, that's a story to it. I won't get into long, but it's in the city shield. No, I mean, not on the soccer team also, but in the shield of the city, there's a bat because it saved the city in some supposed medieval story.
In Catalonia, the dragon is also very famous because
San Jordi?
San Jordi, yeah. I was
You kind of froze, and I wasn't sure if you were thinking about that or not.
So actually, they have like a lot of art representation of San Jordi killing the dragon.
Yes, in Aragon, it's the same.
And in England, Saint George killing the dragon.
Yes.
So same myth, different places.
It's all very cultural.
Perspective, I think. Yeah.
There's some countries, I mean, and some culture, I'm sure, where snakes are good and people like having a snake in their house. And in Europe, not many people would do that.
I don't know. I've only seen Americans, and I doubt American culture is about snakes being good. I don't know.
Well, they're usually not good in literature. No, they're usually
anyway. Oh my god, I watched a documentary that was so well done about this island of snakes, the one in Brazil.
Island of snakes?
Don't know it.
You've never heard about it?
No.
It's an island where there only live snakes, and so there are like 7 snakes per meter in these islands. Yeah, it's horrible. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. But there was I think only once a camera crew went there, like with protection gear and everything. They were very professional. I think they were from National Geographic, of course. And they did a documentary of how many species are there in the island and how likely are they to kill you if you ever set foot in there, and it's very scary. But yeah, those kind of places exist where animals just do their own thing. There are only snakes there and they just survive eating each other. It's creepy enough.
Snakes survive eating each other. They don't eat other animals.
Yeah, because there are not many other animals in that island. It's a very small island. And the only predominant thing there are snakes. There's not enough food for all those snakes.
But no small animals like insects or invertebrates or
the proportion of snakes is just outrageous. Like, I don't know the exact proportion, but I remember it was crazy. Like, Yeah, it was a National Geographic documentary. Yeah, it's a foot and a half long, the island. Oh no, yeah, it's four.
It's called
Yeah, I don't know,
Queimada Grande.
43 hectares, and there are between 2,000 and 4,000 snakes in that island. So yeah, there are a lot of snakes per square meter. Kind of too many.
Too many snakes for my taste.
Yeah, and it was shown that they don't have too many other things to feed on, so they just end up eating the smaller snakes, that because there are snakes that are not poisonous or that they are not very aggressive, and those end up having to go. So it was very interesting. I really recommend it because it's a really incredible place. There's no other like it in the world. So yeah, I don't know why I even watch these things. I have a hard time. But
in some tropical countries, I think there's people that have a snake in their house to keep rats at bay. Instead of having a cat, they have a snake to take care of the rats.
oh my god,
Yeah.
I think that's the worst comparison I ever heard.
In
Snakes and cats.
in Valencia, there's dragons. People have dragons in their houses, which are that's how
Real dragons or images of
Yeah,
dragons?
For mosquitoes.
To be clear.
Exactly, for mosquitoes and
Dragonflies.
bugs and
But do
spiders.
you
They are
mean
lizards.
lizards or
They are called
You're
dragons.
looking
Yeah.
dragons.
Let me look for one.
dragons?
In
I was getting
Catalan.
excited.
There are lizards that go in the walls, and people don't expel them out of their houses or try to kill them or anything. They just keep them there because they eat all the bugs and clean the corners and eat the spiders and stuff like that. So it's quite
Yeah.
common.
But they're like
But not only in
geckos or
Valencia. In
something.
Cádiz, we have salamandras and salamanquesas that are
Which is the same thing.
salamandras with these
Salamanders.
plain head that are very, very cute. I love them. And and I used to catch them when I was little, and they always ended up escaping because they're very fast. The only thing they do is eat mosquitoes at night, and they're very scared of any noises. They're very sensible to noises and things like that, so they're harmless. So
Dragons. I was going to say dragons are salamanquesas. This is the one I have in my house.
Yeah.
oh, they're so cute. I love them.
Normally, if you go into any chalet, there's always one up in the corner in the ceiling. So I bought this one to put it in the ceiling here.
Right. Yeah.
They're not real. They don't eat
To scare the
mosquitoes.
flies or what?
I think that they were more common in the past, like maybe a few decades ago. Like I remember when I was a kid seeing a lot in Valencia, but nowadays I don't see them anymore.
Well, it happens a lot. There's less insects and less animals overall. Yeah, it's like I used to see flies in Madrid when I moved here, and I haven't seen a fly for the last decade.
Well, we have a lot in
You can
Morazán.
come out here if you want.
Yeah. A lot of
There are too many
mosquitoes.
there.
Mosquitoes and flies for the entire country in our flat. So
To me, it's very
Well,
funny because in my grandparents' neighborhood, there are actual signs among some streets that are for you to be cautious because there are squirrels. And now there are no longer squirrels, but the signs are still there telling you, beware of squirrels. So I find it very funny. And the odd chance that I see one, they're always like throwing acorns and things falling off of trees. And then you see that it's because of a squirrel is up there doing their thing. So, but before I was told that the sign by my grandparents that the signs were there because the cars like las atropellaban. I can't remember how.
Run them over.
Run them over, yeah.
Squash
So before it was a real problem, and now there are almost no squirrels left, and I think that's very sad.
it was like shocking to me. Like I was in the Parque de Retiro one day and there was like a squirrel and like people were like freaking out and like taking pictures of it and everything. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, because in America they're everywhere. Like you can't walk 2 meters without finding a squirrel. Like they're just
because now
they're
it's
very, very normal. And
comments,
I was like, okay, you guys are weird.
I remember when I was
calm down.
A few years ago, I lived in the outskirts, but not too far away from the center, and they they opened a very big park there. I don't know if you know about it, the one that's called like the King Felipe VI, the park. They opened it, and it was one of the biggest parks in Europe when they opened it. And it was very wild because before it was just countryside that nobody had touched. So there were a lot of small rabbits there running among the park, and lots of children had never seen small rabbits before outside of as pets, and these rabbits were so much smaller because they were wild rabbits, and children were chasing behind after them, saying, "Mom, I want to take one home." I was like, "Oh my god, poor rabbits! They don't deserve us."
Yeah.
They deserve to go around free without anyone putting them in cages. But I had never seen a rabbit before then. So,
yeah, there were rabbits when I studied in La Complutense, in el campus. There were rabbits there, like.
Ciudad Universitaria?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Somosaguas.
And Casa de Campos.
Never seen rabbits there.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been lucky.
Just behind the faculty, like there were a lot of rabbits. I don't know.
You were going to class, and then a couple of rabbits would just run over you. You'd be like, "Oh, hi."
I didn't see specifically rabbits in Somosaguas, but it was surrounded by countryside somehow.
Only Somosaguas. I was thinking the Moncloa campus.
No,
the Complutense is in
so was I.
Somosaguas.
I was like, oh, okay, that's weird.
That's why I didn't understand. I was like, been there and I've never seen rabbits before. But yeah, Somosaguas is very much in the countryside. So I guess there would be a lot of animals there.
In Russia, they have a lot of squirrels in Moscow, like in the city centers. You go walk into the parks and squirrels come to you. Like they are very used to humans, I guess. Yeah, they come to like to your feet.
Feed them probably.
What are they? The monkeys of Gibraltar?
Yeah. Or the deer.
They ask you for food or what?
Yeah, I guess they are accustomed to humans feeding them, so they are not scared and they just approach you. And suddenly it's like, wow, I have squirrel in my feet. What is this?
Oh, hi.
So going back to the story. No, I really want to. But I really want to highlight the part where the dragon and the bat are like telling stories, because I noticed a very curious theme. Because when the dragon was telling stories, the stories were about humans, and when the bat was telling stories, there were no humans in his stories. It was all about technology, but maybe when the stories happen when human beings were already dead, I don't know. But do you think that there are hints in stories about what happened to humans?
We were killed by robots, I guess. I don't know.
No, maybe.
That's my impression.
I think there may be a possibility.
Considering how much this author likes robots, I don't think that's far-fetched at all.
No, like really, I think that's why, like we let technology either like that or like intentionally, like we all uploaded ourselves to a cloud or something, and then we're all maybe we're still there, like humans are still there, but they're not living physically in the world.
So we all became Sims, like Adriano always says.
Yeah, either accidentally or by choice. I don't know.
Well,
there's a story that's even worse.
There's a story where the woman was uploaded to the.
Yeah, that was one of the stories.
Yeah.
So it's like I was like, oh, that must have been something that was happening. So maybe that's just where everybody just went online.
That reminded me the story about the woman being there despite being supposedly dead. Reminded me of a very popular video game, a horror video game, with stories that in an artificial world, people can live there, like they can stay there for long periods of time and just live their own life there. But the problem is the AI that the world is that controls that world learns from what it finds on people's minds. So when a lot of people with mental problems connect to the net, bad things happen. because that people their input is very horror friendly, let's say. So that's what they are in that world. There are monsters, there are lots of things, lots of bad things there, lots of unhinged people that have become addicted to staying in that virtual world instead of the real world, and they're not very nice. So it reminded me of that maybe in some other way our technology turned against us, and because a few ones misused it, all of us became extinct, which may very well happen.
I liked in the bats stories that they were still about like human technology, but then the animals were like able to use it now that the humans were
because
gone.
they were not humans.
I think
Yeah.
They were not humans. So
I think
They can finally appropriate it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, we'll take care of it. But then it was also that they were still running, like however many years, I don't know how long it's supposed to have been, but hundreds or thousands of years after humans, but still the musical fountain was working and the automated church bell was working and stuff like that. Kind of neat.
I think in most of the dystopias, the end of the humanity is coming because of the overuse of nature or technology. Okay, but most of times are because humans are making our own use of the resources they have near them. Okay, can be, allowing technology to take too much control, or threatening the media, the earth, not preserving not saving the natural resources, not the natural resources. And I think this is maybe an explanation, because thinking that the technology is going to attack us is like washing hands and not taking responsibility about what we are already doing sometimes. So it's quite tricky.
Yeah, these stories contribute a lot to create the sensation, the atmosphere of the apocalypse without the humans, the bad ones. All of them is this, what we have said, technology that is still working without the humans, and most of them in a very sad way. Like, for example, this library that has piles of paper books, it says, and the temperature is set to conserve the books, and the computer there can recite every poem in every language, but there's no visitors, there's no humans. And it says, if you were lucky enough to find a way there, you will receive an unimaginably enthusiastic reception. Like, nobody visits the library anymore. Then the one with the drone that makes the flight periodically is also very sad. It's like the drone still does it, and the birds fly or following it, like practicing the flying, but there's no use to the drone anymore. Well, maybe there's a good point to it that the birds are now using it for something useful. But yeah, it's all the apocalypse. The humans are not there. This atmosphere of end of the world for a long time.
I think it's a very interesting idea, the fact that this author, Xia Jia, imagined a post-apocalyptic world in which humans don't exist but have become extinct, but that doesn't mean animals have to. Like, animals live on even after humans are gone, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's not as common as the opposite. And it makes more sense to me because many animals were there much before we even came around. A lot of animals, birds, a lot of species, especially sea species, have been there for so many more years before us. And of course, we imagine a future in which we aren't there, and of course, it's almost always a future in which no one else is there. But it's because we're the center of our own world, and it really makes much more sense that animals would live on even without us.
It's
For
much more
example,
realistic. Like
yeah,
if right now the human species disappear, if we all disappear the humans, the planet will thrive.
we'll
Much
go
more
on, yeah.
animals, much more vegetation. They could be much better without us.
Depends on how we just
Look at the last 2 months.
Exactly.
Because if we leave because we all decide to get uploaded to a cloud, then most of the life would be better off. But if we're slowly, what's actually happening, which is that we're slowly destroying the planet by raising the temperature and destroying ecosystems, then we're taking out most of the animals with us. Like there's already loads of, we're in a mass extinction right now.
Yeah.
And it's our fault. Like we created it, So
Yeah, and
I don't think there's
also
going to be
not
much
only
left after.
not only that, I guess there are a lot of also probable scenarios for the end of the world that also involve us destroying everything. For example, in the event of a nuclear war, we would take out all other forms of life other than us. Most of it.
Well, except for like bacteria and things like that.
There will be myths. There will always be cockroaches also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said most. Okay.
They say that, but I don't think cockroaches
conservative.
could actually survive a
But
nuclear.
there are other ones that I think we're becoming increasingly aware of today. For example, coronavirus and pandemics. The pandemics that affects us humans don't necessarily have to affect animals, so they can live on even if we cease to exist as a species. I don't remember if in Station 11 there was also a pandemic and a post-apocalyptic world. I don't remember if animals also lived on or not, but I really thought that this author's approach was really refreshing, because I had never, I don't know about you, but I had never read a story before in which animals were like carrying on without humans. I found it very, very original. Right now, I cannot think of any other story in which not only animals have been there, but they're the main focus on, in a way, of the plot.
Yeah, there's always a few humans surviving in the apocalyptic world. It will be a very original story where the animals are the main characters. All the characters should be animals. It will be quite difficult to make a plot and see how they think and what happens.
Yeah, because other stories are more boring and they don't do the bad talk, so they couldn't have like a narrator or.
You have Planet of the Apes.
I've never seen those movies.
Well, there's still humans, right?
But in the first one, humans are just like secondary characters. The one ruling and secondary characters. They're important to us, but in the world, they're nobodies. They're like I don't know, like cows or donkeys for us. No.
Yeah, that's true. There are still humans. They're just like, they can't talk and they're like primitive.
I mean, just like in prehistory, right? Apes were doing their business, and then we appeared, and we knew nothing compared to what we do know now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in case we disappear, I think in a few million years, some of the species that remain, one of them would evolve to do something similar to what we have been doing.
Dolphins. They're the next most intelligent.
Dolphins are really creepy.
Why?
I don't like dolphins anymore. I don't like dolphins.
They're so cute.
I found them very cute, but I've seen videos that made me realize that they're evil.
I mean, they're very intelligent. Like, they're like us. Like, some of them are nice and some of them are horrible. It's like...
They sexually harass people. They're very bad dolphins. I really, have you never seen a video of a dolphin trying to mate with a person? They're horrible.
No.
Don't watch them.
Why?
I don't like dolphins anymore after watching those videos.
But humans sexually harass people too.
I mean,
so humans are horrible too.
Okay, Eugenia, try to watch something more normal instead of those.
Why are you watching those videos?
It sounds weird, but you end up on those YouTube videos and you can't stop. Okay.
Yeah, he's watching dolphin porn.
YouTube rabbit hole.
And seals. seals are worse, but seals don't sexually harass people. They just harass people. They just don't like them. But
No,
dolphins are worse.
that's right. I read some horrible stories about dolphins, like not only to humans, but between them. Like they do horrible stuff, like
Horrible
being aggressive and mating, like raping and stuff.
Especially to female dolphins. So they're sexist.
But
That's bad.
my feeling is that in nature, violence is quite common. I mean, there's lots of raping. Most animals die eaten alive by somebody else. I mean,
Yeah, Carlos, but you don't
it's very
understand.
common. We
Dolphins
don't
are
like
marketed as cute. They're supposed to be cute, and they're horrible. That's a problem. You expect a snake to be horrible. You don't expect a dolphin to be horrible.
They have to live up to our expectations.
Yeah, that's a problem.
No, but you're judging an entire species. But I mean, that's like saying like, oh, I don't know, whoever pick the worst example of humanity, and then you're like, oh, all humans are like that. So
I think
I don't know.
will...
Not all us humans are Hitler, but dolphins are bad, and I send them my opinion. I'm sorry. Because there are some animals that we've discovered that good things about them, but then there are others that we've discovered the not so good things about them, and that I'm biased. I'm sorry.
Yes, bears eat babies also. The bears.
Yeah. And cats.
I think most animals eat babies if they're in a desperate enough situation, or that it's like.
I think it's a mating strategy.
Convenient.
Is to get the female to want to have babies again. It's not really
so they're sexist too.
Yeah, lions do that too.
That's the problem, Eugenia. Just look at the female dolphins; they're fine. It's just the males that are the problem.
Of course.
I mean,
well, now I'm being sexist towards female dolphins, so it's a never-ending circle.
Whatever animals do, we do it worse. Humans have done it worse through history. I was reading the Sapiens book, and he talks about how we domesticated animals, and some stuff that we now know, like for example, what we do nowadays for cows to get milk. Like if they have a period of 5-6 years where they can give, they are in an age to give milk, what we do is getting them pregnant, forcing them to be pregnant over and over again. And then we take the little, how do you say it in English? Like the
calf.
The calf. So we can take the milk that is supposed to be to the calf. But what I was reading in this book is that not only we've been doing that since we were sapiens, but also we've done horrible things. Like, for example, since the reaction of taking the calf away for the mother is bad for the mother and the calf, like they react like aggressively and they see it stops giving milk and stuff. What in some places do is like they kill the calf and put stuff inside them, like taxidermy, like make it a stuffed animal and put it by the mother, so the mother tends to give more milk. And we do that, and we are humans and we do that. And now we do it industrialized with cows that we get pregnant over and over again. Pigs, for example, when we domesticated them, nowadays we have like in dark spaces and in a few meters so they don't run away or anything. But before, when this was not possible, what we did is cut the nose of the pig, so the pig couldn't smell things, because every time that the pig tried to smell, it will hurt him. He will feel pain. So he couldn't try to run away because he couldn't survive on his own. He depended on the human to be fed, and that made him much more submissive to the humans, so we could domesticate them. Same strategies to take the eyes out of the pigs so they don't run away and stay with the human to be fed. And we do that constantly. Like, it's the way we do it, and now we are doing it by the millions to feed ourselves. So whatever the dolphins do, we are worse.
I'm reading the same book now, in fact.
Yeah, I'm liking it. It's very simple. Like things that it tells are very obvious sometimes, but it tells it in a very entertaining way.
Yes, it's a good mix of anthropology and sociology.
Right. For me, maybe it's more basic for me than for others, because all these social construction of reality and stuff like that. I studied it during the degree in Somosaguas, studying sociology. So it's like, yeah, I know that, like, cool. But for some people, it's like, oh, mind-blowing. We make the money, and we make the laws, and we make the codes and stuff. Yeah, of course.
I like how the book is a structure that it follows the human history, because I knew all these things, but I didn't have all together, like in a chronological way. So I really like how it was written. And there is a debate, no, of this book.
Tertulia, yeah.
Yeah, tertulia.
Yeah, I was imagining a debate in which I don't know, people got angry, like, I think humans are the worst. No, I don't think so, because it's
the dolphins are worse.
Dolphins, maybe.
It would be cool to do a book debate, like people saying, no, but in the book says this. Well, I guess it would be funny the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's annoying. When people get angry or try to argue and debate during the discussions, like in the online ones, doesn't happen much. But in the physical ones, sometimes there's someone like wants to be right all the time. And whatever others say, like you say, dolphins are horrible. And I go like, no, you're wrong. They are not horrible. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you can think different things and you don't have to argue, right?
Yeah, there's always someone defending dolphins. I hate it.
And it doesn't matter.
But no, really,
you could be talking about birds.
Yeah, a friend of mine says when somebody says, I like dolphins, he said that's because you have never been attacked by it. So,
but that's true.
A dolphin attacking is quite dangerous. You know,
99.999% of people have not been attacked by dolphins.
Yeah.
No, I think that's
I have been attacked by dolphins.
Point.
Not physically, but psychically by watching those videos, and it was horrible. So please.
But who took that video? It was a human filming the video. So.
Yeah, but they didn't know that the dolphin was going to attack. So it's unbiased.
That brings me to one interesting debate or question. Does evil need intelligence? So I mean, can any being that is not intelligent can be evil?
No,
what
dolphins are intelligent.
Like, that's
I'm sorry, I'm going to drop the dolphins topic right now.
That's something smart.
Yeah, you have to define evil first.
Smart persons between humans, most of them well-known evil persons in the history were used to be quite smart. Psychopaths used to be quite smart. Okay, yeah. Quite intelligent.
But then imagine a person with Down syndrome. We were talking about intelligence that is selfish and harm others to take something they have. Could that be evil? Well, I don't know. We will have to define evil.
Yeah, that's interesting the way, because there is a theory that says, I mean, everyone can be as evil as his nature allowed to be, but the intelligence allows you to perform better. You know, that's one theory. The other theory is that if you are not intelligent, you will never consider harming any other if you don't need it, because being evil is basically harming somebody or something else without the need of doing that.
But talking about animals besides dolphins, like you say,
beings,
like
any kind of beings.
If an animal eats another animal for like feeding, like, do you consider that evil?
No, it's not.
That's a very good point.
It's
there are for example cats, or I mean tigers or felines.
I have one here now, so please don't offend
specifically,
it's your
cats are hunting just for fun. You know, they're hunting just for fun, not for eating. A cat maybe only needs to eat a rat a day for each 2 days. Okay, but if one day he can hunt 5 or 6, he will do that, even if he doesn't need for food, or even to spare that rat to eat tomorrow, just for fun. His nature, hunting natures, force him to do that. Is that evil? And there are some other some other species that are performing similar behaviors. Okay. So
what I think is an error, like, because that's just instinct, like the cat kills because of instincts. But what I think is an error is divide things between evil and good, between bad and good, because nothing is bad and good. Like even humans, when they commit crimes, this polarized way, like, no, if you do this, then you're bad, and if you do this, is that good? No, there's always a context for everything. Like if you grow up in poverty, you're most likely end up robbing, or maybe being much more aggressive and maybe harming someone or killing someone. Are you evil? Well, yeah, but are you evil? No, I just was grown up here. So this is very complicated to put that division, to classify people.
It's tricky.
But that's another never-ending debate where even evil exists in the first place.
For me, the best definition I found is that being evil is harming your environment or anyone near to you without the need of doing so, and having the power of avoiding that harm. You know, so we need two conditions. Okay, not needing doing that action that is considered evil, but also having the power to control yourself to avoid doing that. Okay, because obviously somebody that is psychologically ill, okay, is not responsible for his own behavior. We got also this is an exceptions for, I don't know if this exception is the term in English law. Okay, exception for not being blamed for one committing.
I don't know the term in English. I just know in Spanish. Sorry.
But I have to say, like, if it's damaging the environment, then the whole humanity would be evil.
Yeah,
damaging the environment, consider environment.
All humans are evil. Huh? Every single one of human, like.
Any human can be evil if they cannot. I mean, if they are harming something without the need of doing that, and having the power of avoiding that. A child is usually doing terrible things, but he's not aware of something is bad.
Well, yes,
there was a debate.
I could wear the same shirt for the 1 year, and I will harm much less the environment, but I have more than one shirt. I mean, it's something that is perfectly avoidable, but I don't do it. I confess. What do you mean?
In this it reminded me of this very topic. There was a big controversy a few weeks ago with a famous person. I don't know this celebrity, but this person was under a lot of backlash because of things that she did, and something that resurfaced was an old video of her confessing that when she was, I believe it was 3 years old, but she may have been a bit older or a bit younger. When this person had been 3 years old, their family had a dog, and this person liked to tease the dog, as some children do, and the dog bit her in return because it was only defending itself, and so the little girl had to go to the hospital, and the dog was put down because she bit her. So people were blaming her for it, and others were saying, but when you're 3 years old, you're not really aware that those actions may have those consequences. There are people in different parts of the world that don't even think that of that if they provoke an animal, that animal may be put down. That doesn't make her action good. It was a bad thing to do, but was she conscious enough to foresee that might have been a consequence? And did she do that? Did she provoke the dog with evil intentions? Probably not, because she was not conscious of it, but she did. Because of what she did, the dog died. So it was it's something to think about, because it brings to question all these things of whether you're really responsible of something.
No, but it's what Antonio was saying. When you're a kid, you don't know what you are doing. You can't be held responsible for it. Like when I was like maybe 6 or 7, some of my classmates, I don't know why, pushed me through the stairs. Probably they found it very funny. Nothing happened. But,
Then there is an interesting point that Adrian said before. Evil or good are learned concepts. Okay, we know what's evil because we are sure what is evil, or we are taught by your parents or family. You don't do this because this is bad, or you can do this because this is good. Okay?
Yeah, and different people have different conceptions of what good and evil are.
Yeah, and the perception of the same behavior can be very different. You know, killing someone to preserve your own life. Okay, for you it's doing fine. Okay, doing good. But maybe for the family of the person you are killing, it's evil. Okay, then there are, of course, it can be analyzed to the limit. Okay, but it's very interesting because I think there is I don't know who was the philosopher was saying something like evil doesn't exist in nature, only in human beings.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
and there is a reasoning that one of the reasoning was that that the concept of evil was something taught by humans because they need to judge behavior in order to establish social relationships. Okay, but there are also behaviors that are punished between some kind of other species. Okay, the bonobo monkey. Okay, when the child is not behaving properly, the mother is hitting the baby bonobo, for example. Bonobo is quite well investigated in psychology because it has a very close behaviors in some points to the human, mostly regarding these basic interactions between members of a small society. Bonobos live in groups, no more than 20, 50 people. Bonobos, monkeys, and it's interesting how they are investigated and how they behave. So it's complicated. I think I will never get a real conclusion about this. But I tend to think that evil is one of our most harmful inventions.
I think
that reminded me of a part in the story in which the dragon says that art is made by creatures, by humans mostly, but it's natural at the same time because it's a natural expression of ourselves. I think it's something like that. Concepts like moral concepts, I think may as well be created by us humans, but they're also natural because without that's how I see it. Okay.
No,
that's
it
my
could be
opinion.
maybe some of them. Yeah.
I mean, things like oh my god, I just forgot the word. Like philanthropy, like being nice to other people is something that comes out of our evolution as a pack animal, because it's a survival instinct. If you're nice to somebody in your family, then later when you need help, they'll be nice to you. And that's behavior that's exhibited by animals as well. It's not like it wasn't a social construct. It's like, I mean, we don't know for sure, but the evidence suggests that it's, it's part of our evolution, that it's like a natural thing, and that like apes exhibit some similar behavior, and even some other species as well exhibit
dolphins.
So probably dolphins. I mean, they're a pack animal. I assume all pack animals more or less have this, because you can't really survive in a group otherwise if you're not like altruistic. So
yeah, if everyone hates you, they're going to kill you eventually. Yeah, that's for sure.
No, and like there are some things that are natural, like it help to survive, and there are some others. But what you were saying, Eugenia, about the morals, that even if they are socially constructed by humans, are natural somehow. I have my doubts when you say it, because, for example, there are societies where, yeah, I was very expressive with it, because there are some societies with the clitoris abrasion, or how it is called in English.
Ablation, yeah.
Ablation.
Is seen as
Ablation.
as a good thing, and for some others not. Like, for example, the morals have been changing from time to time, from civilization to civilization. If you read the Bible, they teach you how to hit your slave without killing it, because that's good. And it was maybe probably good 2,000 years ago. And 2,000 years ago, or even a little bit more, 3,000 years ago, in the Hammurabi Code of Law, they say that if someone rapes your daughter, you have to give your daughter to him to marry, because that's the law, and that's the correct thing to do. That's the proper moral thing to do. So
it depends on how you're using the word natural, because we're animals, and so is anything that we do natural because we're organic beings?
Everything we do is natural.
Everything we do is natural, or are you using it by some other definition of the word, which we tend to do? Like, we're like, okay, what, you know, eating Oreos is not natural because it's not something that we did like
eating
a million
Oreos
years
is the
ago.
most natural thing in the world. No, people who don't like Oreos are unnatural. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no, there is one interested point about the point of being evil, or the felt of guilt, feeling guilty for not being good. That's a social behavior we do in order to be able to being welcome into a group, to preserve our existence inside of a group. Okay, we try to behave properly, be good, in order to do that. We are evil when we need to do that in order to preserve our existence, self-defense, hunting, getting resources. But when we get this evil behavior out of control, that's when the evil becomes really evil. That's a point. No other species, I think, got to that point. Okay, because social interactions are unique between humans. Okay, and humans have maybe we have created, that's an idea. Okay, I think I have an idea. Maybe we have created the concept of bad and good, evil, guilt, because we need to use them in order to have some kind of rules for human relationships. Okay, and then we go beyond. We create religions to have even more control over the field of guilt, to have power. Okay, to decide what is good, what is not good, what must be done, what is okay, what is not. After the religions, then we go to democracy, but religion came first. Okay, and in many cultures, religions define the way of the political system. It's ruling during one specific era or season.
But I think what Eugenia say could be right if we think about like the roots of all our like social norms and ethic norms. Like, I think everything is at the end like for like fitting in the group, surviving in the group. Like, obviously we have a lot of complicated societies, so we need like complicated rules. But maybe at the end it's everything about fitting in and surviving.
But when it's something extreme, for example, the doctors of coronavirus that have death because people, I mean, this is not survive, because in the end, some of them have death. Or I don't know, in the typical movies that someone is, how is poniéndose para que no le dé la bala, like avoiding someone order to
Taking the
killed.
bullet for someone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is not survive. So I don't know if this is natural also, or it's like we've learned to think like that, or I don't know. It's
but surviving
that,
of
That's
the
what we're
pack.
saying. Yeah,
Like,
survival of the
like what's
species.
saying, yeah.
But what I was thinking, I know I'm just debating at this point, okay, I know, but I'm just finding the example that I can give that it's something different. But for example, people that, I don't know, it's just what occurred to me. People that do things out of like not to gain anything in turn. For example, I remember I followed an Instagram account that's a person. No one knows his or her name or gender, that goes all over America giving thousands of dollars in tips to random people that work in cafeterias or diners or bars. This person obviously has lots of money and doesn't know these people, but the reason why he does it, I know it's unknown. We can't really know if he has any other ulterior motives for it, but it appears to be altruistic and not for survival of any pack or for gaining any kind
No,
of
but it's I
recognition.
think it's something like the pack, because we all have done that that you said in our scale, because we are not rich people. Like
Yeah, I
every
was going to
time
say I've never given thousands of euros to anyone because I've never had
right,
1,000 euros
right.
before.
But
So.
if you have given your socioeconomical status, if you give €1 to a homeless person, maybe you are giving more than that person giving thousands of dollars. Like they did the math of when you're walking on the street and you find a little coin, how big has that going to be for you to make the effort to grab it from the floor, right? Like if it's 1 cent, you'll probably just keep walking. 5 cents, you'll probably just keep walking. But maybe, I don't know, 10, 20 cents, say for 50 cents, you go down to the floor and grab the coin of 50 cents.
Of course.
They did the math. And they did the math of how big could that amount have to be for Bill Gates to actually go to the floor and grab it. And it was like millions of dollars in the equivalence of what it is to me. So if he doesn't see millions of dollars, for him it's nothing. It's like for us, 50 cents. So those people donating so much money means nothing for them. Like if I donate €5, it's much more from the salary and much more effort. And I think we all do this. We help people around, we donate, we do charities, we help someone that doesn't have money for the bus or whatever. And we are all altruistic. I guess that's survival of the species.
Yeah, something.
And also maybe because love and those kind of abstract concepts exist.
Love.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't love the person on the bus that I pay their fare.
No, but I agree with that.
Yeah, you love them, but you don't know about it.
No, but I agree that with that stranger in the bus that you don't know nothing about is something similar. If not love, is empathy. Like you can see their position, you can have feelings about their position. Like we are very empathic animals.
Don't be so rigid. I'm not talking about romantic love. You're not giving out
about
money to people you're attracted to. Okay, it doesn't work like that.
But what?
You don't have to be attracted to the homeless man that's asking you for money. Okay, to help him. No, but it's out of love. It's out of the goodness of your heart. Okay, I sound like a preacher now.
But I think it makes us feel good. I mean, I think that's the real reason that we
I think
do
it's also
is because
selfishness too.
Yeah, I think this person on Instagram or whoever. It's probably mostly because it makes us feel good. It gives us a hit of whatever.
I didn't want to say it, but
that's because
I knew that Ariane was going to
because
but this person is very religious. The person on Instagram.
Sorry,
also because
we feel bad if we don't do it.
Like, guys, oh my God, there are people dying and I have money. Yes. I have to give it away. Like it's the pressure of the.
Yeah, that's
the pressure of like money. This money is itching me. I need to give it away or something like that.
The point of altruism, I think, is not needing to inform others about you being altruistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example,
because if you feel the need of making publicity of your altruism, is that you are looking for something in return. Okay. Social credit, I don't know, any kind. So this is not really altruism. This is some behavior, perfectly valid, that you do for a purpose. Okay. So the question is, does real altruism exist? That's the point here. I think so. Okay. I think it's a reaction. Being altruistic is something you do because you feel. Okay. It's like sometimes it can be a sort of instinctive. I don't know if that's instinctive. Okay, based on instinct. Okay, like being evil sometimes is based on instinct.
But
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that because, for example, when you donate, for example, to an animal shelter, your name appears because you're donating for your people. I don't know. And I don't care if they see that Eugenia has donated or not. I don't care because I know nothing in the pet shelter. I know no one in the pet shelter. I don't care if my name shows or not. So I'm not really donating out of
It's like, but
self-interest. I'm just donating because I don't know, I want to and I have money to donate.
I think many people do things and they don't go around telling you about it. I mean, some people do tell about it, but many people don't. Or some people do tell some things, but not others. So I think there's some altruism here.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you do it because you want others to look at you and think, oh, what a nice person that donates all this money. Or if you comment it because, I don't know, sometimes in a group, the conversation arises and people talk, oh, I'm giving this charity or I'm collaborating with this. And you say, oh, I'll collaborate with this too. But you're not trying to look good in front of the others. You're just talking about it. Anyways, I have another question for you. Is Xia Jia a better writer or painter? Because I found a paint that she did for this story, which is this one.
Now I'm itching to see it.
Oh, that's nice.
This is her painting.
She's a better writer. Sorry.
Yeah, I think she's a better writer as well.
It's nice you ask for this, Adrian, because when I was reading the first pages of the story, I was feeling like it was written by someone that was a painter. You know, the kind of descriptions in details. You know how the dragon is waking up somehow. You know, it's quite visual in my opinion. I'm not a very visual person. Maybe I like reading because of that, but I feel like it was quite visual images that it was coming to me after these simple descriptions. By the way, I was taking the dictionary like I don't know 7 times. No, my English.
Only 7 times.
I really need to improve because I need. That's one of the good points of reading.
Yeah, you're not Kindle, impressed.
In the Kindle, you got this easy access to the.
I love my ebook because I just touch one word and it appears the dictionary.
That may be more because of Ken Lui translation than her language. Maybe she used very simple language in Chinese.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, Chinese and English are very different languages.
Yeah.
I am also a fan of Ken Lui. He must have a lot of work.
Like a lot of Asian languages, Chinese has a lot of different ways to write the word. A lot of Mo, I don't know if you can help me. A lot of matices. I don't know how to say that word in English.
Hues. No? H-U-E.
But that's about color. I don't know if.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
like
shades.
I don't know either.
Yeah, a lot of hues or shades to it. Because you have a lot more subtleties in the language than we do in other languages that do not derive from ancient Chinese. That is the basis.
Also, I think it's also cultural. Okay, I don't know about Chinese because I haven't read much Chinese. Maybe what I have reading here in Ciervo Blanco. But about Japanese literature, I think I got that feeling. You know, Korean also have. They enjoy describing details.
Japanese literature is wonderful.
You know, it's soft and sweet in the description. I don't know. Maybe some people like, some people hate it.
Yeah, I've read.
I like it, but maybe Chinese are also about the same. You know, about soft feelings, soft details.
But for me, like Chinese, for me, it's like the most difficult language because one character could have like a lot of meanings. So in Korean,
Japanese
it's not like
also,
that.
I stand by the difficulty of Japanese. I'm sorry. Because Japanese has 3 alphabets, and the last one of the 3, the kanji, is is derived from Chinese characters. So you
Yes,
have
Korean
normal
also
Japanese
has like
Korean also,
and
yes.
yeah.
Japanese based
Yeah.
and ancient Chinese. So there's quite a lot.
So in Korean, the characters don't have different meanings.
No, like in
Like-
Chinese, like
Yeah.
you have a syllable, like
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
because they are derived from Chinese. You can say, oh, this is in Chinese alphabet. This character represents
but in
the sun, but it's
in Ja-
Chinese character, not Korean.
Japanese, you got both. You got some characters are like syllables, and some others are like concepts.
Yeah.
I don't know if
usually-
Chinese is the same, but it's quite interesting. I heard sometimes something saying that Japanese, I don't know if Chinese was the same. You cannot translate Japanese. You have to make an interpretation of Japanese.
Yeah.
When translating. So also maybe when there is a translator for a Chinese or Japanese book, there is also more value on the translator than usually. I don't know. That's thought.
I remember
Our
I heard,
translator for this story is Ken Liu, and we can all agree that he's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I realized
Stan
yesterday.
Ken
I was reading at the bottom
Ken Liu
of
stands,
the page of the link. They say that the translator is Ken Liu. I just realized yesterday.
Yeah, but it's true what you said, Antonio. I think because it's a translation from Chinese, it could as well have been the same in Japanese. The translator has to make a lot more effort because he has to really translate also the feelings that the language embodies in its original Chinese version. So I really think that makes
when
that
you are
makes
translating from one language to another that is so different in the culture, okay, because when you translate to Spanish to Portuguese, okay, we are quite close. We are close cultures. I mean, or Spanish to French. We are cultures that we know each other for history, okay. But when you are translating for example, Nigerian, like the African mythology, we have Nigerian to Spanish, for example. We have that story, Chikulume. Okay, we are maybe losing some hues in the translation, because we are translating the language, but we are not translating the sensitivity, the culture, some details associated that only someone familiar with the culture is able to realize or to enjoy.
Yeah, to me the perfect example is actually Spanish, because things don't read. You can't read the same. You can't give the same interpretation to a Latin American novel than you do to a Spanish novel. Even
Absolutely.
the language is the same. You understand it because it's the same language. It's not a dialect. It's not like Spanish and Portuguese. They're similar. They're derived from the same original language, but they're not the same. But nevertheless, there's a cultural aspect of language that just beyond some words that are different, like carro and car and coche. Also, it's the, like you said, the cultural part of it. There are a lot of things that I believe we were talking about it in the last Latin American story we discussed, that novio, for example, such a simple word, it's not the same in Latin American here. Boyfriend is not the same in English as in Spanish novio, because boyfriend doesn't mean groom in English. It doesn't have that double meaning that it has here. Novio can be a boyfriend, but it can also be the actual groom at a wedding. So I think it really shows that there's a part of translation that really...
No, even when you are adapting classic novels, okay, El Quijote is a very good example, okay. There are so many adaptations to modern Spanish that is also a lot of criticism about some of the translation. When I was young, the first I read was from Fernando Lázaro Carreter. I was considered to be quite good, but nowadays, okay, it's considered to be not so good because it was done in a way of making accessible to young people of the 70s. Sorry. And it didn't, yeah, it was done in the 70s. And it didn't consider some that he was missing some points from the classic Spanish, so it's always complicated, because obviously the Spanish we are talking now is not the same one that we in the same country were speaking like 400 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago.
Guys, I'm feeling like I'm going for a walk. Andrea, do you have any other topic about the story to talk or anything?
No, not really.
Okay, so I'm going to
only that I was really excited about this story. I really like it. So
I really like it. It's
It's very
sweet.
good.
It's zip. Okay, and it's quite easy to. I mean, there are some words, but the understanding of the journey is quite interesting and easy to follow.
We didn't do a poll.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do it.
I'm sorry, I always say it late, but I just wanted to make it remind it so that it doesn't happen next time we have to do it.
I tend to forget, so do not have to remind me, because otherwise I will forget. And also, they make no sense, because when the voting is done, we see it, and then results are lost.
They disappear.
Yeah. Like we will
I don't know.
write it down.
I like it, but
Maybe,
it doesn't matter. We don't do it.
Maybe at some point we could send like a general email or something with all the stories, and people can vote for the best ones or vote for them.
Yeah.
Something
So that you don't have to do a poll every time we.
Yeah, I mean the poll is fun because we have a laugh doing it and watching the results, but it means nothing.
Actually, I think my favorite one so far has been all like English, like this English discussions. I don't know why.
Like which ones are your favorite?
Like the yellow wallpaper.
The wallpaper is awesome.
Lovecraft.
I didn't like it that much.
Really, I think it's one of my favorites.
No.
It's
the lottery.
One of my favorites is the Murakami one. I really love
that was in Spanish.
See,
you should do a Japanese author next time.
Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting.
We should do a sort of poll to choose the best short stories we have commented in the group. Okay, even with several categories, Oriental stories, European stories.
Have like two.
Magic realism stories.
In Spanish, it's not gonna be a favorite. Really.
Now I'm offended. You proposed this one.
No, I love magic realism, but have you heard people in the Spanish discussion?
What did they say?
The opposite, completely the opposite.
They don't share my preferences, let's say.
They want to read men author and realistic stories.
Yeah, they only want to read straight white men.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
But then the ones that tend to say that they are older people, like the more young people, they like science fiction and fantasy and realismo mágico and stuff.
Andrea, you should rate it. Thank you.
I think it's a matter of. I think it's a matter of being used to read some particular subject about some particular subject. Okay, when you are reading only science fiction, you only like science fiction. When you are only reading classics, you only like classics. When you are only reading Japanese, I met someone in one of Carmen's, the group organized by Carmen. There was a couple of Japanese stories, and there was one lady that was only coming for Japanese books because she only reads Japanese.
I want to be
That's very good. No, she recommended me a couple of books of Natsume Soseki.
Soseki.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to say in the last one that we did that we talked about some cat stories because we had just done these cat meetings that we should read Natsume Soseki's Soy un gato, I am a cat, because I think it's going to be awesome.
It's about
I
cats.
haven't tried.
It's about a cat talking through the whole novel. It's literally I am a cat.
I
Literally.
haven't tried because many people about I am a cat says this 50-50, 50% loves it and 50% cannot deal with the book.
It's like Murakami.
amazing.
It's very polarizing. I don't know why. Japanese fiction
No,
is polarizing.
I have read from Soseki. I have read Kokoro. I love it, and Bochan. It's also very good. But so I'm a cat looks like a completely different kind of literature. So I don't know. Do I need to like cats? I mean, I like cats, but.
Yes, I'm also gonna head out. So thank you for this
Okay,
discussion.
so
I'll see
we are
you Sunday.
Okay, we can end the discussion here.
Okay.
Also, it's very difficult because we are all interrupting each other constantly. Like we jump over each other. Next time we have to raise the hand, as Carlos says.
Yeah.
And we are only 6. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have read a lot of good stories both in English and in Spanish. I was looking at the list now, and probably my favorites will be The Searchlights by Virginia Woolf in English, and maybe
Really?
Adele Ami's The Corsets. The horse one was very, very good.
Good.
The
I
Lottery.
like that one.
But
The Lottery was very good because it was the first one to forget about
I
it.
really like The Lottery. Yeah, as well.
I remember everyone liked it a lot.
There are some books I wouldn't read during the pandemic, but they are interesting anyway.
Anyways, it's always fun. Guys, thank you very much. Andrea, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon,
Thank
everyone.
you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.